I still remember that Thursday evening in September when I was sitting on my bedroom floor carefully polishing the engagement ring I had spent 3 months saving for. The late afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, casting a golden glow across the small velvet box that held my future. My heart was racing with excitement about the surprise I had planned for tonight at the rooftop restaurant downtown. Dakota and I had been together for 3 beautiful years, and I thought I knew everything about her. I thought I was about to make both of us the happiest women alive. Little did I know I was about to discover something that would change everything forever. Before I tell you what happened next, please let me know where you are watching from and hit that like button to support my story. Because what I am about to share will make you question everything you thought you knew about trust and love. The morning had started like any other day, except I woke up with butterflies in my stomach. Today was the day I would ask Dakota to marry me. I had been planning this moment for months, every single detail meticulously arranged to create the perfect romantic evening. The reservation at Skyline Rooftop was confirmed for 7:30, the highest restaurant in our city, with breathtaking views of the downtown skyline. I had contacted the manager weeks ago explaining my plan and asking for their help in making the moment special. They promised rose petals on the table, dim lighting, and their photographer would be discreetly positioned to capture the magical moment. Choosing the ring had been an adventure in itself. I visited 7 different jewelry stores, comparing cuts and clarity, trying to find the perfect 1 carat diamond that Dakota had once admired when we window shopped together. The sales associate at Tiffany had been incredibly patient as I asked endless questions about settings and stones. When I finally made the decision, I felt like my heart might burst with anticipation. 3 months of overtime shifts and skipped lunches had made this moment possible, and I believed it would be worth every sacrifice. Earlier that week, I had done something that felt both traditional and necessary. I called Dakota's parents in Portland to ask for their blessing. Her mother cried happy tears over the phone, telling me how much they loved having me as part of their family. Her father shared stories about how Dakota had been talking about marriage lately, how she seemed ready to take the next step. Their enthusiasm gave me even more confidence that tonight would be perfect. For my outfit, I had chosen a classic black dress that Dakota always said made my eyes sparkle. I paired it with my grandmother's pearl earrings and the heels Dakota bought me for my birthday. Everything had to be perfect because this night would become our forever memory. As I got ready, I kept touching the ring box in my purse, making sure it was real, making sure I was not dreaming. Then everything started to unravel in the most unexpected way. Dakota had left her phone at home when she rushed out to meet her personal trainer at the gym. She was always so attached to her device that seeing it sitting alone on our kitchen counter felt strange. At first, I ignored it, focusing on my final preparations for the evening. But when it started buzzing constantly for 10 minutes straight, I became concerned. What if there was a family emergency? What if someone needed to reach her urgently? I knew her passcode because she had shared it with me months ago when her hands were busy cooking, and she needed me to answer a text from her boss. Trust was never an issue between us. Or so I thought. I picked up the phone intending to simply see if there was an emergency that required immediate attention. The screen showed multiple notifications from someone named Marcus with a gym emoji next to his name. I recognized the name as her personal trainer, but the preview of the messages made my stomach drop. The first message I could see without unlocking the phone read, "Cannot wait to see her face when she realizes you have been mine all along." My hand started shaking as I entered her passcode. What I found inside that phone destroyed everything I thought I knew about our relationship. The messages between Dakota and Marcus went back 4 months. 4 months of secret conversations, intimate photos, and detailed plans for their affair. I scrolled through hundreds of messages, each one feeling like a dagger to my heart. They talked about meeting at the gym after hours using the private training room for purposes that had nothing to do with fitness. There were selfies of them together, Dakota's arms around his neck, both of them laughing at jokes that apparently included mocking me. But the worst part was reading how long they had been planning this. Marcus knew about my proposal plans because Dakota had told him 2 weeks ago. She had shown him the ring I bought, laughed about my romantic gestures, and called me pathetic for thinking she actually wanted to marry me. They had been planning tonight as their entertainment, a cruel game where I would be the unwitting star of my own humiliation. My phone rang, and I quickly realized it was Dakota calling from the gym landline. I let it go to voicemail, but then heard our house phone ringing in the living room. Something told me to listen to this conversation, so I quietly picked up the extension in our bedroom and held my breath. Marcus, baby, everything is perfect for tonight. Dakota's voice was light and excited in a way I had not heard in months. He has no idea what is coming. The reservation is at 7:30 at that fancy rooftop place downtown. Are you sure you want to humiliate her like this in public? Marcus asked, though his tone suggested he was more concerned about getting caught than about hurting me. What if she makes a scene? Dakota laughed a cold sound that I had never heard from her before. That is exactly what I want. He is going to propose tonight, watch me say no and make him cry. This will be so satisfying after 3 years of pretending to care about someone so boring and predictable. I have been planning this moment for weeks. My legs gave out, and I sank onto our bed, still listening to the conversation that was destroying my world. She deserves it for being such a pushover, Dakota continued. Do you know she actually asked my parents for permission? How pathetic is that my mom called me crying happy tears, and all I could think about was how stupid they all are. Marcus laughed along with her. What are you going to say when she gets down on one knee? Oh, I have it all planned out. I am going to let her get through the whole speech, maybe even let her think I might say yes for a second. Then I am going to tell her exactly what I think of her and this relationship, in front of everyone in that restaurant. I want her to feel as small as possible. You are evil, but I love it, Marcus replied. Should I come pick you up after the carnage? Absolutely, we can celebrate properly at your place. I already packed my things. I will be moving out this weekend anyway. I heard Dakota laugh one more time before hanging up, and I sat in our bedroom, surrounded by the remnants of what I thought was a loving relationship. Everything I believed about us was a lie. 3 years of shared dreams, plans for our future intimate moments I thought were genuine, were all part of an elaborate deception. But as I sat there with her phone still in my hands, reading more of their messages about how they plan to celebrate my humiliation, something inside me shifted. The devastation began to transform into determination. Dakota wanted a show I would give her, a show she would never forget. I spent the next 2 hours taking screenshots of every message, every photo, and every cruel comment they had shared about me. I saved everything to a cloud drive and printed the most damaging conversations. If Dakota wanted to make a public spectacle of our relationship, I would make sure everyone knew the truth about who she really was. By 6 o'clock, I had transformed my heartbreak into a mission. I was still going to take Dakota to dinner at the rooftop restaurant. I was still going to get down on one knee in front of all those people. But instead of a ring, I would present her with the evidence of her betrayal. Instead of a proposal, I would give her the goodbye she deserved. Dakota came home from the gym glowing with what I now realized was not the afterglow of a good workout, but the anticipation of causing me pain. She kissed my cheek as she walked in the same casual affection she had been faking for months. I cannot wait for tonight, baby, she said, wrapping her arms around me from behind as I stood at the kitchen counter. It feels like such a special evening, does not it? The manipulation in her voice was so clear now that I knew the truth. How had I missed it before? It definitely will be a night neither of us will ever forget, I replied. And for the first time all day, I was telling the absolute truth. We arrived at Skyline Rooftop at 7:25, just as the sun was setting behind the city skyline. The restaurant was everything I had hoped it would be: elegant, romantic, and filled with couples enjoying intimate dinners. The hostess greeted us with a knowing smile and led us to the table I had specifically requested by the windows. It was beautifully set with white roses, flickering candles, and a view that stretched for miles across the twinkling city below. Dakota played her part perfectly, gasping at the beauty of the setting and squeezing my hand as we sat down. Sadie, this is incredible. How did you manage to get a table here? I heard the wait list is months long. I have been planning this for a while, I said, watching her face carefully. She was good at this performance, I had to give her credit. Her eyes were bright with what looked like genuine happiness. Her smile was warm and loving. If I had not heard that phone conversation, I might have believed she was actually excited about our evening together. The first course arrived, and Dakota continued her charade flawlessly. She complimented the food, asked about my day, and even mentioned how much she loved spending time with just the two of us. Meanwhile, I could see her checking her phone under the table, probably updating Marcus on how perfectly everything was going according to their plan. You seem distracted tonight, I observed as she glanced at her phone for the fifth time in 10 minutes. Oh, just Marcus texting me about tomorrow's training session, she said casually. You know how dedicated he is to his clients. I am sure he is very dedicated, I replied, and I saw just the slightest flicker of something cross her face. Nervousness, guilt. It was too little too late. As we finished our main courses, I could sense Dakota's anticipation building. She kept looking around the restaurant, probably wondering when I was going to make my move. Other diners had noticed us throughout the evening. A few couples had smiled knowingly in our direction, probably recognizing the signs of a proposal about to happen. The restaurant staff was hovering nearby, ready to assist with what they thought would be a beautiful moment. When the dessert course was served, a chocolate souffle, we were meant to share. Dakota could barely contain her excitement. This is such a perfect night, Sadie, she said, reaching across the table to take my hand. I feel like something magical is about to happen. You are absolutely right about that, I said, standing up from my chair. The restaurant was not particularly crowded, but the 30 or so other diners quickly noticed my movement. Conversations began to quiet down as people realized what appeared to be happening. Dakota's eyes lit up with anticipation, but not the kind she wanted everyone else to see. She was practically vibrating with excitement about the humiliation she was about to inflict on me. She had positioned herself perfectly in her chair, probably practicing the cruel rejection she'd planned to deliver. I walked around to her side of the table and slowly lowered myself onto one knee. The entire restaurant fell silent. I could hear the soft jazz music playing in the background and the distant sounds of traffic far below us. Dakota's hand flew to her chest in mock surprise, her face, the picture of innocent joy for everyone watching. I reached into my purse and pulled out a small black box just like I had planned for months. Dakota's eyes fixed on the box, and I could see her preparing to deliver the devastating blow she had been practicing. She was probably thinking about how Marcus would laugh when she told him about this moment later. But when I opened the box, it was not a diamond ring that caught the light from the candles on our table. It was her phone displaying the text message conversation with Marcus. The screen brightness turned all the way up, so everyone nearby could see it clearly. Actually, Dakota, I said loud enough for everyone in the restaurant to hear, I am not proposing tonight. I am here to say goodbye. The color drained from Dakota's face as she realized what she was looking at. Her carefully planned performance crumbled in an instant as she recognized her own words on the screen. I stood up and read aloud, "He is going to propose tonight. Watch me say no and make him cry. This will be so satisfying after 3 years of pretending to care about someone so boring and predictable." The silence in the restaurant was absolute. Every single person was staring at our table, trying to process what they were hearing. Dakota's mouth opened and closed like she was trying to speak, but no words came out. And this, I continued scrolling to another message, is what you really think about our 3-year relationship. I read Marcus's message, "You are evil, but I love it," followed by Dakota's response, "I want her to feel as small as possible." For what felt like an eternity, nobody in the restaurant moved or spoke. The only sounds were the soft background music and the distant hum of city traffic 40 floors below. Dakota sat frozen in her chair, her face shifting through every emotion: shock, panic, shame, and finally, desperate anger. Then something remarkable happened. One person started clapping. It was an elderly man at a corner table who stood up and began applauding slowly. Within seconds, his applause was joined by others. Soon, nearly every person in the restaurant was standing and clapping, creating a thunderous ovation that seemed to go on forever. "Good for you, young lady!" the elderly man called out across the restaurant. That took real courage. A woman at a nearby table approached us, her eyes shining with tears. "I went through something similar with my ex-husband," she said to me quietly. "What you just did was incredible. You saved yourself years of pain." Dakota finally found her voice, but it came out as a strangled whisper. "Sadie, please, I can explain." "This is not what it looks like." "It is exactly what it looks like," I replied calmly. "You and Marcus planned this whole evening as entertainment. You wanted to humiliate me in front of all these people. Well, congratulations, you got your public scene." Dakota's carefully applied makeup was starting to run as tears of shame rather than joy streamed down her cheeks. She looked around the restaurant at all the faces staring at her with a mixture of disgust and pity. This was not the triumphant moment she had imagined. "How long have you known?" she asked quietly. "I found your phone this afternoon when you left it at home. 4 months of messages, Dakota. 4 months of laughing at me with him while I was planning our future together." She tried to stand wobbling slightly on her heels. "I need to go," she mumbled, but her exit was not the graceful departure she had probably envisioned. Instead, she stumbled toward the elevator, trying to hide her face from the dozens of people who were still watching her. The photographer I had hired approached me carefully. "Miss, I recorded everything like you asked when you called this afternoon. I am not sure what I was expecting, but this was not it. Do you still want the footage?" "Yes, please, and thank you for being professional about such an unusual request." As Dakota disappeared into the elevator, I felt the strangest mix of emotions. There was sadness for the relationship I thought we had, anger at the months of deception, but also an overwhelming sense of relief. I had taken control of my own story instead of letting her write the ending. The restaurant manager approached me with a bottle of champagne. "This evening is on the house," he said. "What you did took tremendous strength. I hope you know that." Other diners continued to stop by my table throughout the evening, sharing their own stories of betrayal overcome and strength discovered. I learned that night how many people had been through similar experiences, and how rarely anyone gets the chance to expose the truth so dramatically. The weeks that followed were difficult, but not in the way I had expected. Yes, I mourned the loss of what I thought was a loving relationship. Yes, I felt foolish for not seeing the signs earlier. But mostly I felt free, free from someone who saw my love as weakness and my trust as stupidity. Dakota moved out that weekend just as she had planned, though not under the circumstances she had imagined. She never apologized, never tried to explain. A few weeks later, I heard through mutual friends that her relationship with Marcus had not lasted long, once the excitement of their secret affair was gone. I started therapy to understand how I had missed so many red flags, and to learn how to trust my instincts better in the future. My therapist helped me understand that Dakota's ability to deceive me so completely was a reflection of her character, not my intelligence or worth. 6 months later, I got a new job in a different city and started over completely. I made new friends who knew nothing about my past relationship drama. I focused on my career, took up photography, and learned to enjoy my own company in ways I never had before. The most important thing I learned was that sometimes the best proposal you can make is to yourself. The promise to never settle for less than you deserve, to trust your instincts when something feels wrong, and to have enough self-respect to walk away from people who see your love as something to be mocked rather than cherished. Looking back now, I realize that Dakota actually gave me a gift that night, though not the one she intended. She showed me exactly who she was, and she gave me the opportunity to show everyone in that restaurant, including myself, exactly who I was too. I was someone who would not be quietly humiliated. I was someone who would stand up for herself when it mattered most. Trust, I learned, is not something you give blindly. It is something that should be earned through consistent actions over time. Real love does not involve elaborate deceptions or cruel entertainment at your partner's expense. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. What would you have done in my situation? Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted completely was living a double life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and please hit that like button if this story resonated with you. Subscribe for more stories about real people overcoming real challenges, and share this video with anyone who might need to hear that they deserve better than someone who treats their love like a joke. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the most beautiful endings come from the courage to walk away from the wrong beginning. You are stronger than you know, and you deserve someone who sees your love as the gift it truly is.